lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and today I have another indie creator spotlight. I got Adam Lemnah with me. We're going to talk his comics. He's, at Image Grand Design. He does Next Panel Press. You also work in film and television, so I'm very excited to have you on, kind of pick your brain about comics, dude.
Thanks, man. Really excited to be here. Just really looking forward to talking about everything. Yeah, it's a crazy time for me, so I'm stoked, dude.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I know we tried to get you on. I didn't mention Ghost Agents, but I know you did issue 2, or you did a story in issue 2. Yeah, I just got it. It was awesome. With Rocco Jerome, has issue 3 on Kickstarter right now. I'll drop the link for that as well.
Absolutely, just like a murderer's row of awesome talent.
Oh yeah, so good.
Book, man. Rocco's killing it, man. Great stories, great artists. And I mean, there are so many great artists who are especially in the cartoonist kayfabe group, that are looking for opportunities to do it. You should just reach out, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think right now, I don't want to make this about me, but I know that for right now, I had this idea to do this like hip hop zine because I love hip hop. So finally, I'm like, I wanted to put an ad in Wizard 2, but I couldn't get it done fast enough just to kind of push me to do it, because I felt like if it was out there as an idea, then I would have to do it. And then I'm like, well, fuck it. I put it out there in the group. And, I've had some responses, people, saying that they're into doing it.
I know I want to be in it, man. I'm stoked, dude. I have something that I'll talk to you about it later, but it's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just, I thought about, okay, maybe I do a couple pages, I'll write something, because that might be easier to write something, maybe like how it relates to me. But yeah, I'm excited to get that going. I mean, seeing my name in print, it just, I don't care. It doesn't, this is kind of more exciting than if it were to be like, some like little side note in a different publisher or whatever.
It's
like
addicting,
this to me is really
man.
cool.
It is.
Yeah.
Just seeing that, and then especially when you begin to see your stories get printed, it's a really exciting feeling, because you're knowing that other people are seeing it too, and you're hoping that they're enjoying it as much as you enjoyed creating it, because all of us in the CKRS group are fans of comics too, and so it's I don't know, man. At any rate, it's really cool that you're doing this. And I mean, long before I picked up a pencil to start drawing, I was writing spec screenplays and stuff like that. So, I mean, yeah, just start. And then maybe one day you'll want to pick up the pencil and just start doing it. The thing is, there's so many different artistic styles. As long as you can figure out a style of your own, then you're set, dude.
Yeah, I definitely want to get back into practicing and stuff, because I know as a kid I don't have any of the sketchbooks, but I remember drawing a lot. And I moved so much that they all got wherever the fuck they ended up. They're not with me anymore. Yeah. So I definitely want to go down that route. But we're here to talk about you. So before we get too much into Ryan, everybody hears my voice enough on this channel. So I know that, well, like I said, you work in film and television, but let's talk comics. You told me, I think when we were back and forth in the email, you didn't start reading comic books till middle school, high school. Is that true?
Yeah. I mean, I would occasionally read comics when I was younger than that, but it was much more sporadic. But by the time I got to middle school, high school, I kind of knew the books that I was into, and I was getting more into that was the birth of Image. Okay. So I turned 14 in 93. So I mean, that was the perfect time to be getting more into comics, because Spawn was coming out, and that was really huge. And I got really into all that stuff for a while. But in the back of the comic shop, where my comic shop where I grew up, was they would have Love and Rockets and Savage Sword of Conan and all these more adult books that were geared towards adult, and it was just the place to sort of hang out back there. They'd have gaming and stuff like that going on back there too. And so you just start picking stuff up and leafing through it, and you're like, wow, Vampirella, wow, I'm 14. Right on. it was really cool. And I mean, like, it definitely opened my mind to that stuff. And then, you know, as I kept reading, I got into, you know, I got into Watchmen, I got into V for Vendetta, I got into Alan Moore like big time, and then the British guys really big time. And then I went sort of like, I was like, okay, I gotta really understand where they were coming from. And so I went back and I read all of the Swamp Thing, the saga of the Swamp Thing, and I fell in love
Oh, I
with
love that run.
Stephen Bissett and Rick Veitch and John Totalbin and, you know, all the guys that worked with Alan Moore on that. And then, you know, through that I got more. I was always more of like a DC horror guy in that sense. I mean, like, I always really liked the character of Constantine. I thought he was a really great character, and I think it, you know, I mean, like, having sort of like been exposed to like black and white books back in the earlier, back when I was in high school, it was like it felt natural to sort of like go in that direction, because those books were, you know, they didn't shy away from showing blood or sex or anything like that, so it felt more realistic in a way. That's sort of like how I got into comics in like a more roundabout way, and then I sort of started branching out more and more into like other stuff. But that's where like the impetus for everything comes from.
Okay, and then but you go to study like visual arts for filmmaking, right? So
Yeah.
how do you go from that, which you're still doing, right? Like that's
Yeah, oh
your,
yeah,
that's
totally.
your day job, right?
Yep,
And
I've got a
then
film actually premiering at that I edited, premiering at Tribeca Film Festival
oh,
on
nice,
June 12th. So
very cool.
it's called Peace in the Valley. It's a drama. I mean, I cut two films last year, two independent films, and I work in television. Like, my day job is in television, so I do, like, I am assisting and also moving into editing. I'm just finishing up on Hunters for Amazon, and then I'm moving into a pilot for NBC, and it's kind of like a crazy time right now, because like I totally understand where you're coming from over the weekend, because we were just prepping the film over the weekend to get it ready to go over to Tribeca for QC before all of that stuff. So there's like a whole side of things that is like consumed by that, and it takes away from my time to draw and do comics, which sucks, man, because I love doing this, you know. But I mean, like, it was always kind of, to get to your question, it was always kind of like intertwined in a way. I mean, like, I always thought of comics as like a visual medium, much like film. And
Mhm.
so like it felt natural for me to like movies and comic books. And then when I was in college, I mean, like, I never thought of myself as like a really good artist or anything like that. Like I enjoyed drawing, but I was always like, I don't really like how it looks. It's kind of weird looking, and you know, that's I'll stick to the filmmaking. I'll stay behind the camera, you know, like that's the. And so I did that for a long time, but I would always, like, even in like director's cuts and producer's cuts, I'd be like drawing on my notes instead of taking notes, and I'd be like, wait, I gotta pay attention to what I'm doing here. And so I just kept drawing and drawing and drawing, and then when the pandemic hit, I was like, you know what, I have the time. I'm at home. I don't have this, you know, multi-hour commute into and out of LA anymore. And so I'm just gonna, you know, put a little bit more time and effort into it. And I wanted to learn more. Like, I hadn't practiced anatomy or anything like that for a really long time. So I just really wanted to get back to the basics. You know, I started reading some books about that and practicing that, and also looking at a lot of photographs, and that was sort of my way back into it.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I think it's interesting is too is because for me, like, I think at first I wanted to do film when I was younger, and then I wanted to do comics, and then I wanted to do, like, it was like it always went back and forth. So I find it very interesting that like you are doing both, you know. So like that's what really,
I really enjoy it, man. Let me tell you, there's so much overlap, especially in editing, with making a comic, because in a comic you're the director, you're the cinematographer, you're creating the actors, and you're choosing, you know, the camera angles and the shot selection. that's, I mean, I'm not directing the actors, but I work very closely with the director, and we craft the performances of the actors. And we, you know, as an editor, that's my job to make all these decisions about shot choice and, you know, how to tell the story in a visual way. And they say in the film business, you make the film 3 times: once when you write the screenplay, once when you direct the film, and then once when you edit the film. And so each is a little different. And, you know, the way that you think about telling a story visually, the language is very similar. And especially even the way that most like cartoonists talk about it, for me, it was very like intuitive to get more deeply into it, because it's like, oh, I understand why they're using like a 2-shot there. I understand why they're going in for a close-up at this point. I understand why they're trying to create motion for action. And all of these things make sense in if you're thinking about how to tell the story and you're thinking about how you would edit it if it was a film. It's very similar. The language is virtually identical. And I mean, like, that's why we storyboard everything in movies. You know, I mean, like, it's such a key component to things nowadays that I don't really know any filmmakers that don't storyboard.
Is image grand design, is that when you first start getting stuff in print in terms of your comic
so
books?
I was in Image Grand Disaster.
Disaster.
So,
Okay. Whenever I talk about
the
it,
same project, but
yeah.
it was kind of the same project. I was doing like my own thing. I was doing like I was doing this director series where I was like actually like drawing the directors that I loved, and I was kind of planning on putting together a film zine, which may still happen. I don't know. At some point, I'd kind of like to do it where it's more like film criticism and theory mixed with comics and what's going on in the comics world, and sort of like merge the two together. But Greg, one of the members of CKRS, who was working on Image Grand Design, reached out to me and said, you know, hey, would you like to be a part of this? We're doing Image Grand Disaster, which is sort of like where the story picks up after the end of Image Grand Design. We, you know, if you want to, it would be really cool. And I said, yeah, absolutely. So I went to a Zoom. We kind of talked about what a bunch of the different stories that people wanted to tell. And Mark Darden, who does Guano Guy, ended up writing this 1-page story about it was Seahawk, I think. And
Okay,
yeah. Gosh, it's been so long, man. It's so many pages. And so I did the story for Seahawk, and then they called me and asked me to do some like, you know, beginnings and endings sort of thing. And that was really fun. And I got like, when I got that in the mail, I was like, holy shit, this is the coolest thing that I've ever seen in my life. I actually drew something and it's on a page, you know. And it was very addicting from the very beginning. And I mean, like, I used to play music live when I was younger, and I really equate it to like playing music live in a sense, because you get like that immediate connection with your audience that you don't get with filmmaking, you know, because we're able to post it online and people see it immediately, and then they buy the book and then you see their reaction. It's very, you know, it's really fun to see how people react, and then it inspires you to create more. And, you know, as time went on, I just kept working on stuff, and I knew that there was Weapon X was being made by William at 100% Comics, and so I grabbed a couple of pages on that, and I was like, I got to study Barry Windsor Smith because he's amazing. He's a genius. I'm a huge Conan fan, and of course, Barry Windsor Smith is like known for Conan. So I was like, this is the perfect medium. This is one of my favorite stories. You know, I love the story of Weapon X. I think it's just like psychologically, it's really an interesting look inside of Wolverine, and sort of like as an origin story, it's really dark, and it's like a conspiracy theory, and it's kind of like it's fun in that sense. And so, you know, the chance to really like study that under a microscope was really exciting to me. And so I did those pages and they turned out really well, and I was really excited. And then I did a pinup for Red Room for the
I saw that.
war gallery, and Ed put it in an issue, and I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever, you know? And so then I was like, okay, I gotta do a story. And I had written before I was drawing, because I gotta be honest, man, like I didn't like the way my art looked, and I was like, I don't want to draw, I'd just rather write. So I had written this like short little 4-pager, which then I expanded into Afghani Surprise, which is in Wizard 2. And so I had like the first 5 pages done, and I sent that to Eli, and he really liked it. And so I finished it and sent it to him. And by that point, I was ready to sort of do a longer story, which is when I started Relic Hunter. And so it's just been sort of like a trajectory the whole time, man. It's been really fun. But I mean, like, I've been able to take a lot of what I learned as a filmmaker and as an editor, as an artist, and apply it to making comics. And I think it really helps. It's really funny too, because making comics has also really helped me to grow as a storyteller in filmmaking as well. So
yeah, I definitely think that you can see in Relic Hunter like the influence of filmmaking too, just the use of the shots awesome. That you take. I dug the book. And Eli printed these, huh?
No, I printed them myself, man. No, yeah. You know what? I went to the guys because, you know, Next Panel Press is like a bunch of us, man. There's
it's awesome. It's constantly new people.
I know, we keep growing. Well, keep your ears open. It's such an amazing collective to be a part of, man. And I want to stress this, because since I fell in with these guys, like I knew Rick and Eli from these other projects, you know, and my son is 10, and I had gotten some of the Cosmic Cat stuff from Rick, and my son read it, and he was like, I love Cosmic Cat. So he's like a huge fan of Rick's now. And so like Rick and I started talking more, and I was like, look, I've got this idea for this book. I've got 4 or 5 pages already done. I was just going to serialize it myself on my Instagram, but I'd really love to be a part of Next Panel Press if you guys would have me. And Rick was like, yeah, let me talk to Craig, let me talk to Eli, you know. And you know, they came back, they were very excited. And you know, one of the things that we do in Next Panel Press is we have to make sure that we have a certain number of pages done ahead of time, so that we can always stay ahead of the curve and not get, you know, so the story is always a few weeks ahead of what you're seeing on there. And we're always, I mean, like, we Zoom pretty much every day. We're always talking to each other on Facebook Messenger, sending each other, like, you know, in progress stuff. And it's been such an amazing group to be a part of, because I've learned so much from all these guys, from Craig, from Rick, from Brian Payne, who's amazing. You know, I mean, like, all of these guys are so talented, from David Grom, you know, and the other part of it is that they're super kind and accepting. You know, everybody is trying, like Jerome is there, and he's always saying, like, you know, iron sharpens iron. And that's the truth, man. Like, it feels really good to be a part of that. And he also paid us, which is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, as an indie creator, that doesn't happen very often. And so it was really, really cool, man. Great experience.
It's one of the reasons why I think I just posted it this morning in the kayfabe group about how I need to make a comic, you know. I can't draw. I can't draw. Sitting down to write, it's like I've tried to sit down. Well, I haven't tried that hard. But I would sit down, yeah, full disclosure, you know, like I would sit down, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to write an idea, but I think I overthink stuff too much. And then also like,
Yeah,
I'm not trying to get somebody to draw it and then pay them on the back end, you know, like I want to be able to pay somebody. And I'm not in that financial spot right now to do it. So like it would have to be something to save up and
either
get it
that or
done that
find
way.
somebody who wants to collaborate with you on a story that they feel strongly about too. And I mean, that is definitely, you know, like with any kind of creative endeavor, that's a great way to work with somebody. It's like the Wu-Tang Clan, man. Like we want to take it like that, you know. It's like 5 years from now, if we can stick with it and really keep pushing forward, and everybody's making books and everybody's putting stuff out, then we are the next generation of cartoonists, you know. And whether we're working for the big two or whether we are working for Image or whether we're creator owned or whatever, you know, at whatever point, you know, we'll always be able to come back together and do stuff together. And we have that like core now. And it's so cool, man.
Yeah, I know. I think that I've said it so many times that when talking to other people in the group, like it's the most positive community that I've ever seen in comic books. And I've been reading comic books since I was 5. It was the earliest I can remember, you know, getting a comic book. And I never stopped. I may have little breaks for whatever reason, things I've done in my life that put me in bad positions, but whatever. But I always come back, man. You know, like it's the medium I love the most. And that's why, like I told you at the top of this interview, like I really want to create something. I mean, maybe I haven't been inspired necessarily to have produced something yet in terms of a comic book, but this YouTube channel is because of this group. Like,
absolutely,
it's not just because of Ed and Jim on their channel. I was already doing a website and stuff, but I got motivated to do the channel and to do the podcast because of everybody in the group. And then that's why I've wanted to have so many of you on the show, because I want everybody to see you guys, you know, like I want somebody checking out my Todd McFarlane interview and then looking out and they're like, who's this guy? You know, like, and then they discover, that's it. You know?
Yeah, so, man.
That's what I love about the group so much, and like the comics you guys put out, the energy. Like I've said it, Image Grand Disaster, Image Grand Design, both of those, you could feel the energy emanating off of the pages, and yeah, man, it's so rare to get that experience. Yeah,
dude, it just like because it was during the height of COVID, because nobody was seeing anybody. Getting together in those groups on those Zooms, working on this stuff together, creating a community together, building each other up as artists, as creators, as writers, you know, finding where we fit in with one another. It was a wild, it doesn't happen. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people, especially with Eli and Rick and a few of the other guys in the group. It's very rare, especially in art, where everybody is so individualistic and people tend to keep to themselves or small cliques, to have a group that is this large, that stays as positive as it does, as much as it does.
Yeah.
Because usually it ends up like degrading into like, you know, flame wars and I like this, and no, you can't say that. But like, and that does happen now and then, but it's like, for the most part, everybody is really focused on enjoying the comics and pulling from them what influence we can, learning about where the medium came from and how we can contribute to it in a new way. I mean, like that's the thing that I've taken away from the group and the channel so much, is that like comics is changing all the time. It's always evolving. It's always becoming something different, either because of outside influences like the Comics Code, or inside influences like the underground comics revolution in the 70s. Like there's always, and then there's people that work from within to create things like Jack Kirby, and there's guys that work on the outside to move the medium forward like Robert Crumb. You know, like you have so many different minds taking it in so many different directions, because each person is different, and yet we've managed as a group to like kind of forge a way forward together that is really awesome. And now we have so many people that are creating stuff. It's so wild, man.
I know my wallet and my bank account is reflective of that, you know. I can't help it. I wish every time something dropped, I could just buy it immediately.
Totally.
But it's like sometimes I can't, you know, like I can't spend everything I have on comic books, you know, like if it's between buying clothes and comics, I always buy comics, you know, like, I don't care. I'll wear the same pair of jeans for 10 years. You know what I mean? I don't give a shit. Like as long as it's not like tattered and there's no holes in it, then fucking I need to go get some more comic books. Like that's
Dude,
what
let me tell you, it's like I would be lying if I said to you that I did not think about like, oh, you know, Ghost Agents 3 is dropping. Maybe I shouldn't put my book out right at this moment, because you know what I mean? It's like there's so many different things that are coming, and people, you know, especially folks in the group, like, you know, we all work for a living, you know, we can't afford it. And you want everybody to be able to afford it, but you still want to be able to like, you know, charge a meaningful amount so that people understand that it's like real work making something, but you want it cheap enough. I mean, like, you know, I'll give my books away if I have to like just get them into people's hands, you know, but it's when somebody actually gives you their hard-earned money for something that you've created, it's such a privilege, man. And we have a responsibility to people to give them something good. And I feel like, I mean, like I look at the art, I look at the stories in Ghost Agents 2, and I'm like, man, this is the coolest thing that I've ever been a part of.
Oh, dude, it was phenomenal. I loved it. I loved the first issue, but the second issue, I just felt like, at least from my perspective, the art was great in both, but I could already see Rocco's writing from issue 1 to issue 2. Like he's getting more comfortable, you know, writing for other people. Cause like I mean, just from my interviews with other writers, like you write to the artist, right? And that's
absolutely,
he's writing already to 6 artists. It's in 2 issues. Now it's going to be, I think it'll be 8 because there's only 2 new artists on the book. I think.
Yeah, he's bringing in new people all the time,
which is cool.
But he keeps all of us sort of like in a pool, and we're all talking about it, and we're all sort of weighing in on things. But you know, yeah, he writes stories specifically for each person, and it's wild, man. I mean, like he's got so many different threads, and he's able to give like Barry the things that Barry can do really, really well, or Ben Perkins the things that Ben can do really, really well. And it just becomes this like amazing thing altogether. And I mean, like he went bold on Ghost Agents 2. He didn't even put the name on the cover, man.
I know.
That's some crazy, like, that's some like Led Zeppelin, Metallica shit, you know, like old school kind of thing. And I love that Rocco will experiment that way. That's one of the things that I dig about him as a person. And I think he's got a great knowledge of comics, a great vocabulary. And I'm a big Steranko fan. I'm a big like Spy-Fi fan. And I mean, it was really fun for this. I mean, I got some Challengers of the Unknown. I looked at Wally Wood, you know, and I really tried to think about, okay, you know, how would these guys draw this, but then also add in some of my own flavor to it. So.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And Relic Hunter, I'm super stoked that you put that in print, because I've been saying to anybody that I talk to with Next Panel Press, like, you guys need to be printing this shit. Like,
I keep telling the guys that too.
To be stuff in print for people to pick up, because like I'll read it online, but I like having a comic book in my hand. You know, I like
it's
being
also
able
hard.
to,
like the image is like this big, you know, it's like, and you know, I don't know about all the guys, but I ink on 11 by 17 papers. So it's like, you know, I want people to be able to, even if it's like small, I want people to like be able to hold it in their hand and see the detail work and all that sort of thing, because I'm a nerd like that. And that's why I love Savage. I mean, like, dude, I wish I could have done this at like tabloid size, you know, like that would be it, dude. But eventually, and I mean, like, you know, I ended the story in that part of the story in a cliffhanger. I've got the next few pages already. Well, one is done, another is in progress. The next story is really fleshing out, and I'm gonna take it in a totally wild and silly direction, which I'm really excited about. Because this is sort of like, this is my opportunity to experiment and to pay homage to the things that I love and try to build a coherent story out of that. Which, you know, I've sort of, the way that I've been doing it is sort of like, I have like beats that I want to hit, but, you know, I'm not like forcing myself. Like if I feel like along the way I need another page to get to the next beat, then I'll create another page for it. You know what I mean? And that's the joy of working as your own creator. It's like, oh, you know, this transition isn't the best. Maybe I need to like figure out another way to get to B from A.
So for everybody listening and watching, because we talk about the book, but we're not actually saying what it's about. Could you kind of, you know, quick elevator pitch for Relic Hunter, and then after, just kind of, do you have some sort of an end game in mind? Do you think that you're going to continue to collect it this way, or in one large book, maybe even tabloid size?
So so it's my homage to the Savage Sword of Conan, D&D art, fantasy movies, metal, you know, album covers, like all that sort of stuff that when I was a kid was just like the coolest shit when you're 15. And so I poured all of that into Relic Hunter, and I sort of shook it up and threw in everything I love about James O'Barr and Tim Vigil and all these outlaw artists that I find that I just love. I mean, I was at the tail end of the black and white explosion, but I still remember those books showing up, and it was the coolest stuff. It was my favorite stuff to look at because the art didn't look like, I didn't feel like I could draw like the artists in Marvel and DC. I'm not Neil Adams, man. I'm not. You know, but I could draw like a dude at Aircel. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, cool. I'm going to get this book and check it out, you know? So, and I'm not, I mean, like, I can't draw like Tim Vigil, but I like looking at it, I'm like, God damn, you know, this stuff is the coolest. And so that's what the book is about. The first section, this book collects the first 12 pages of the story, which is from November of 2021 to April of 2022. And it's the first part of the first arc in the story. And this arc will be completed in the second half of this, which when this second arc is done, which I think it's probably going to be around like, it'll probably be finished by like end of October, which means the book will drop right around the holidays, which is what I'm really hoping for. I'm going to do a Kickstarter for it. I'm going to do a tabloid size version of it.
Fuck yeah.
I'm going to do, but the book is going to be designed as like a regular full size book. It's going to comprise of what's in here and the new material. And I've got people making pinups for it. I'm going to have another reliquary section in there. And I'm going to be premiering another story that I'm working on called Plague Doctor. And I've got 14 pages of Plague Doctor done right now. So I'm going to put the first 12 in there. And so that'll be like, you know, that'll be the special, like, pick this up, because it'll be just about 40 pages of actual comics and then pinups. So it should be like a full-size book, man. I'm really excited.
Dude, I'm very stoked for you, and I definitely cannot wait to back that Kickstarter. I mean, if it was live today, I'd be backing right now. I'll definitely help you do promotion for that if you're up for it.
Awesome. I would love that, dude. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like, this to me is so much fun, and like I've brought my son a lot. Like when I did an in-store for the first one that I did for Relic Hunter on Free Comic Book Day, May 7th, my son came with me. You know, he's 10, and so like I want him to like get that taste. We took him to LA Comic-Con. he's doing, you know, and he wants to draw comics too. And so like he's doing like, you know, his version of like Captain Underpants and stuff. It's really like I like seeing that, and I like seeing people getting into art. And so man, it's just this is the most exciting thing for me. And for me, when I was in high school, like going to the comic book shop after school was like, that's where we hung out, man. You know, we played D&D there, we played Warhammer there, we played Magic the Gathering there. So it's like coming home in a way, you know what I mean? Like, and I love filmmaking, and filmmaking is such a huge part of my life that it's so nice to be able to have another creative outlet that's sort of completely different, and in a large sense, like completely like away from technology in a lot of ways. Because I'm like tethered to the computer for editing. So I mean, it serves a lot of purposes in my life, and I'm really excited that people are connecting with Relic Hunter. It seems like, you know, a lot of us that grew up at that time sort of remember this combination of things, and I'm really excited for people to see the next part, because I'm gonna like throw in some more stuff that I'm a big fan of, and I hope that people are along for the ride.
Yeah, dude. Anybody listening, watching, definitely. I mean, you still have copies of this up on your Etsy that I can drop the link for?
I've got, okay, so the way that I planned this is the funniest thing, right? So I made it look, I used this red paper here so that it would remind people of the original D&D, the red box, you know, way back in the day. But what I've decided to do is I did 50 copies of this. I've sold 35, so I think I have 15 copies of this left, and then the next print run is going to be a different color altogether. Some folks voted they wanted green, so I think that's going to be the next cover for the second printing, and I'm just going to keep printing it until until it stops selling.
All right, dude. Hell yeah. Well, I'll drop that link down below for everybody to make sure they pick it up. Also, I'll drop a link for Next Panel Press. You guys should check out everybody that's on there. I have quite a few of those people I've done interviews with, like Rick Lopez, Eli Schwab, Craig CK, all that stuff. So check out all those books. And before I let you go, though, I was wondering if maybe you could share a few recommendations for everybody listening and watching. Anything you've read recently?
Yeah, man. Let's see here. Heavy Metal Drummer. That book is amazing. Dude, let's see. Obviously, Red Room. Obviously, Hulk Grand Design. I follow Tom on Patreon, so he says he's working on something new. I would say definitely check out their Patreons too, because like at $3, I feel like it's totally worth it. But like, that's really, I mean, like I was reading The Last Ronin. I just picked up the last copy of The Last Ronin. Yeah, man. I mean, like I also do like a lot of dollar bin diving, and I just picked up a run of the first 8 issues of Saber from Eclipse Comics, and I'm just digging the shit out of it.
We live in LA together. Where is the place that you were dollar bin diving?
I have 2 places up here, man. You got to come in and hang out. One is Cruising Through Comics.
I haven't heard of that place.
Yeah, it's on Sierra Highway. It's a husband and wife that run it, and they used to go to like cons and sell back issues at cons. But right before the pandemic hit, they were like, you know what? We're going to settle down. We're going to open a shop. He has always got the best stuff, hands down, for best prices. And their dollar bins are super deep, dude. Then there's this other place up here called The Open Book, which is a used bookstore. They're not even like primarily a comic book shop, but they get donations of long boxes, I guess, and pick up stuff from like estate sales and stuff like that. I'm always finding hot stuff in there because, I mean, they don't know what they have. And I mean, like, you know, I just found Mutant World in there. You know, this was $5.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? That's
no,
dope.
Man, that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, you guys got to come up.
Yes, I did.
Hang out. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm up in Santa Clarita, so I know it's
not that far
from LA. Dude, it's so worth it because, I mean, like, I just went. You saw the post that I made the other day. There's so many good shops up here, and it's really underexplored territory from LA.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely down. We'll set something up. Maybe I'll wait till after my vacation because who knows how much money I'm going to be spending when I go up to Seattle. So, but I would definitely be down. Yeah, I'm definitely down
I'm
to
going to New York in June for this Tribeca thing, and I'm definitely hitting up a bunch of shops while I'm in New York. I'm just going to be there for the weekend. It's going to be like a first strike mission. It'll be really fun.
Well, anybody listening, watching, if you're in the LA area, fucking hit us up on Facebook and let's do a trip out in July. We'll try to shoot for July and we'll go hit up a bunch of shops. That would be fun, dude. And yeah, and thank you again, dude, for jumping on the show with me to chat comics. It's been a blast. I'm so happy we finally got to lock the time down.
Yeah, man.
And I'd love to do this with you again for sure in the future. I'll definitely help promote the book when you got that Kickstarter. For everybody listening and watching, though, if you could share the links where we can find you online, and I'm going to drop all those down below.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. This was amazing. Really appreciate it. Had so much fun.
So where can they find you online?
Okay, I'm at Adam Lemnah and at Next Panel Press on Instagram. Maybe it's easier. I've got like a big one here. There we go.
Perfect.
And then it's Adam Lemnah on Facebook too, and on Twitter. I mean, I'm everywhere, but my art is mostly on Instagram, and then on my Etsy shop, which is Black Dog Comics.
All right, cool, man. Well, again, I've already said this probably like 3 times, but thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And everybody listening, watching, make sure you go pick up his comics and keep following along on the Comic Lounge, dude, because I got a lot more indie creators that are lined up to be on the show. And on that note, we're out.